There's a coup d'etat on the Zenkethi homeworld, but nobody's going to miss the autarch. Cassidy Yates is hauling a load of duridium ore to Soleus 5, and Cisco tells Jake that one sip of champagne is enough. Hey, everybody, and welcome to the 7th Rule with Cirroc, Lofton, Jake, Cisco.
Hello, hello.
My name is Ryan T. Husk, and today we are doing a review of Deep Space Nine's season 3 finale, episode 26, Adversary, directed by Alexander Singer, written by Ira Stephen Bear and Robert Hewitt Wolf. My name's Ryan T. Husk. I think I already said that. What were you saying? What was up with that champagne?
Jake can't really be drinking too much. I
don't think he's 21.
He's not 21 at this time. He's not even close.
I went back and I rewound that like 3 times because it was so freaking cute. Like you took one little sip, you're like this, and then you took another one, and then when he pulls it away, he's like, "That's enough." You went, "Ah."
Yeah. Yeah, I saw that. I savored that little bit.
That's one of my favorite moments so far of the 3 seasons was that because I swear to God, that was a real smile. It was. I don't know if you remember what happened there, but you guys must have had some kind of discussion before or after, or maybe you ad-libbed that, or maybe the director just gave you. But whatever it was, that was Cirroc Lofton smiling there, not Jake Cisco. Do you remember any of that?
No, I don't remember this. That's the funny thing.
I knew it.
But I do know that is something that I would do outside of the Jake Cisco character. So that's a Cirroc moment. To accentuate that little moment, accentuate my little flavors. So yeah, I'm pretty sure that I added that little bit. Right
that was perfect. You went, and you always kind of looked like, "Yep, that's right."
Yep, you saw it. You guys saw it. I got to drink with the big boys. Yeah, I like that. It was funny too because the way he snatched a cup away from me too. Like I had the champagne glass and I was ready to go for a big guzzle, and he pulls it away from me, and it's kind of like, well, that's the last I get of that. So let me just savor that. I definitely enjoyed it. Definitely enjoyed that moment, and it was good that we get to see Commander Cisco finally getting his captain's status in the beginning of this episode. So now I know it was the end of season 3 where Commander Cisco becomes, Captain Cisco.
There's so many good moments in this episode that we just have so much to talk about, and I'm really excited about it. That's one of the big ones, is Cisco is officially a captain in the final episode of the 3rd season. You could really see that the writers are setting up a big 4th season in this final episode. We're adding the Pips. Eddington's getting a bigger role. The Dominion is really sinking their claws into the Federation. There's Cassidy Yates gets a NAM. There's just so much. There's so much going on in this episode. But yeah, let's start with Captain Cisco finally getting his captaincy. And I had forgotten that you were the one that added the pip.
I had forgotten that I was the one who added the pip. And I'm glad, that was the moment, that I was a part of that moment. I also noticed that is that the dress uniforms that he's wearing with the gold trim around the neckline?
Yeah, really sharp. I always like the dress uniform.
I really like it on him. It looked great. So you don't wear that. It's kind of like, you don't wear that for your everyday work fit, right?
Right. They have dress uniforms when there's some kind of official ceremony, a wedding, a promotion. Maybe it's like the dress uniform. Maybe sometimes an admiral is coming in and they want to be presentable for this big, moment. But you see it every once in a while on Star Trek. And it looks really cool.
And that's also, I think it's an actual military thing too, right? I mean, we see a lot of the military personnel, when they're gathered for a special event, they'll have their their blues on with the gloves and the hat, but they don't walk around wearing that every single day. So that's the dress uniform, I think, is the way they describe it even in today's terms.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I really like the goals. I like the humility that Cisco shows when he gets this rank promotion.
Mm-hmm.
He kind of says, it's just a title. It doesn't change who I am, and he kind of addresses that a little bit in the beginning of this. And then he's coy about it too when he tells Kira, what does it mean that you have this extra pip? And he's like, well, it means I'm always right. I think that was the.
Yeah, she said something like, does that mean I can't disagree with you anymore? He's like, oh, you can still disagree. It just means I'm always right.
Which I like that little banter right there.
Mm-hmm.
And I also feel like, this is a little off topic, but I feel like I felt the connection between Dax and Cisco a lot more in this episode. I felt the bond that they had way more so than in any other episode so far. In the elevator scene where she was plugging and teasing him about Cassidy.
And she was more playful than we've ever seen. When she was doing like this, when she was like, oh, I'll tell them, she was doing this kind of playful thing. That was new. We hadn't seen that before, right?
I hadn't seen that level of looseness to her character, and I enjoyed it. I wish I could have seen that interaction between the two characters even earlier than this, because it made me feel like they were friends, and they had this playful kind of back and forth where she could tease him about things where other people couldn't tease him. And the tease really came about Cassidy, which is something he's super sensitive about. I've only had one date. He was like, well, 2, technically 3. So
have we only seen Cassidy one time so far?
I think we've seen Cassidy. Yeah, I think she was mentioned before.
Right. So far she's had 1 appearance and 2 non-appearance mentions already.
Right.
And then one where she was mentioned but not by name, in Explorers. I mean, that's got to be like a record, man, where she's like, I only have to show up once and they can't stop talking about me.
Yeah, I think that's fair enough to say. And then you see that she goes on these missions where she's gone kind of like Keiko. They kind of explain her away the way they explain Keiko's character, right? Mm-hmm. She's on a mission to Bajor for a month, or Cassidy's on a freighter haul mission doing delirium or dilithium or something.
Delirium.
She's doing that delirium.
Yeah. What is it? Duridium ore to Soleus 5.
Okay. So no, that has nothing to do with delirium or delirious or Eddie Murphy. But
okay.
But it's funny because when they were doing the PIP ceremony for Cisco, they all broke out into a song, and that song I thought it must have been a clearance issue, because they broke out into "For He's a Jolly Good Fellow," and I don't.
you went, but I do think that's a thing that they do. It's like old school, but I do think they always jump into "For He's a Jolly Good Fellow." I think that is tradition, whether it's still tradition 400 years from now. But yeah, that one is very safe from any trademarks or copyrights or anything.
I think so. I think they didn't have to clear that with anybody high up, because that's pretty. I just couldn't believe that they were singing that song. I've never, in my experience, seen any black person sing that song. Or
say the word jolly.
Exactly. So just for the record, it's not something we use in the black community. But
what's another song that you guys don't use in the black community?
I can't think of them all, but there's a list.
Maybe that one that Miles and Bashir were singing, that Jerusalem song.
Oh yeah, we don't sing that Jerusalem song either. No, that's not on the. But "For He's a Jolly Good Fellow" it's just we never. I I can honestly speak on behalf of all black people that we've never sung that song. So that was an interesting choice for the moment. Obviously, it felt good. It was a festive moment. It felt great. I was just waiting for them to say, "Pip, pip, hooray." Was that?
That's solid. I give that an 8.
Solid.
I give that an 8.
Right, good.
It's not quite as good as the one you said before we started recording.
Oh, where I said pips up, hose down. Yeah, that's a rap thing.
9.1. That's a 9.1, I think.
But yeah, so that was my only takeaway. A little criticism of the festivities. The other thing I noticed in that exact celebrating moment was that a few people came up to give Cisco a hug, and it just made me think of hugs and how they've gone away so much. So right, handshakes and hugs and actually, yeah, just personal touching and just affection and celebration like that.
Every time I see something like that on TV, I immediately react like, whoa, what do you do? Oh yeah, that's right. That's okay. It was done in the 80s or in January.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But now you look at it and you're like, wow, two people getting really close to each other.
A little too close. Everybody just relax.
Exactly.
Speaking of which, we're both wearing American flags on our person today. Those of you just listening in, Cirroc has his awesome camouflage hat with American flag. It looks like I've got an American flag, but really it's a Guns N' Roses shirt.
Guns N' Roses.
It's very different than what anybody watching just sees it. They're like, oh, that's very festive. He's got a little flag here, but really it's kind of messy after that first couple inches.
I won't go there.
I know. As I was saying, I was like, no, come back, words, come back.
But I will say that, when I did the painting with Avery, the thing that was the theme behind the painting or behind the artwork was Captain America. And I often say this, and it bears repeating, that Avery Brooks and Captain Cisco is the first American captain on Star Trek. And so that I always call him.
I had forgotten that. Yeah.
Yeah, he's the first American captain. Right. And so in my humble opinion, Captain Cisco is Captain America.
He's America's captain.
He's America's captain. He's the first delegate we sent into the Star Trek series franchise, and so yeah.
And what's funny about that is Voyager's captain was also going to be Canadian. For the first couple weeks, they shot with a Canadian actress that Kate Mulgrew ended up replacing, Elizabeth Bujold, I think, something Bujold, Canadian lady, and so it would have been Canada 2, USA 1. What the heck? Canada's out there giving us the knockout blow,
Well, as we have learned from our discussions with Ira and the fellows up in the high brass, Siddig El Fadil, or AKA Alexander Siddig, was originally cast to be Captain Cisco, or was in consideration to be Captain Cisco, which means they wouldn't have even had an American captain. It
would have been like 2 Brits and 2 Canadians duking it out for supremacy, and USA would have been like, what about us? And they're like, you just keep paying us. Okay.
You just wait till Enterprise, all right? You'll get your turn.
You'll get the most corn-fed American dude ever for your captain.
Exactly. But so, Avery represented the good old US of A. And that's why I put him on the backdrop of the red, white, and blue on the piece of art that I designed for him.
Oh, that's cool, man. So there are a lot of big changes that happen throughout Deep Space Nine. I think that really kind of change the tenor and the image of it. The first one being when they add the Defiant. They add the Defiant. There's a slightly different hue to the show now. Now it's a little different. Then Cisco gradually goes from, he gets his goatee, which we saw. He becomes a captain. Then he shaves his head. Then later on, Worf comes in. There are a few, 5, 6, 7 steps that gradually change it. Also, Nog going into the Federation, joining Starfleet, I should say. So there are a lot of these minor changes, and today is one of the bigger ones, because Cisco really was a captain. Like, the way he acted was a captain, and as we've heard the writers say, eventually they just couldn't deny it anymore, for lack of a better word. Eventually they just have to say, okay, look, the part was meant for a commander, but the actor is getting big, the story is getting big, he's got to be a captain at some point.
Yeah, and I would also look at it through the lens of what was happening at the time. So they start off with Captain Kirk, they go on to Captain Picard, then they go to a commander. And maybe that was okay, and maybe their intention was to have him, work his way up to become a captain eventually, as they did. But that argument kind of loses its weight when Voyager gets introduced in this season. I believe, was it season 3 that Voyager begins, right?
That's right. The second half. So right now they're probably around episode, 10 of Voyager or something like that.
Right. So now they just brought in Captain Captain Kate Mulgrew, Captain Janeway. And so they have 3 captains and a commander. And, the rumor at the time, I remember these rumors, was, why was he a commander? Why wasn't he made a captain earlier on? Was that an act of some kind of racial bias? Was that something that they were doing to kind of, because he's black, he doesn't get the qualifications? So there was a kind of rumorations about the association between him being black and him not being a captain yet.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I could tell you in their defense that anytime, there's a difference between a captain of a ship and the person in charge of a space station. And the person in charge of a space station has never been a captain that I've ever seen in Star Trek. They're always a lieutenant commander, or a commander. That's just always how it's been. So I think that from the very beginning, before they cast it, they were like, this is a commander, and I don't even think they planned on having that person move up to captain. I just think it was always going to be a commander, and that's just a guess on my part. But like I said, there's never been a commander of a space station that was this important, with the Dominion and with the Romulans and with the Klingons and all these things, to where you needed a big shit in there. You needed a big guy. It's no longer just a commander's job or a lieutenant's job. Plus, Avery, like they said, he was too big and powerful and seasoned to be a commander. Plus, as you're saying, regardless of their intention, it's bad optics. It's bad optics to say white captain, black commander, white captain. It's just, right. It's like, okay, at some point you have to just be like, okay, here were our intentions, but let's adjust to just do what we should do, which is pretty obvious. I'm sure everybody agreed with the move, right?
Yeah. There was no argument about making him, a captain. And I also think that it coincides with some of the elements that you mentioned. Obviously, the spaceship dynamic, which is a stationary station, so that's, that may be one consideration. The other thing I think was really good was we got to see him on the bridge of the Defiant in this episode as the captain.
Yes.
And that's where little bells and whistles go off in my head when I'm watching that scene and I'm seeing him, with Kira at the number 1 at the helms, and everybody's kind of manning their stations. That's when it kind of felt like, oh wow, this is the traditional Star Trek all over again. So I actually got for the first time watching this show, I actually felt for the first time, oh, this is like the traditional Star Trek moment, the Next Generation moment, the original series moment. So I actually felt that when they were all on the bridge together.
It also makes Deep Space Nine be on such a bigger scale than any of the other series, still to date. because they have this stationary station. I guess that's probably why it's called a station. And in front of the most important, like basically in the middle of the most important, spot or situation in the quadrant, this is it. This is like the Fort Knox or the, whatever you want to call it. This is the big thing. The Alamo. I don't even know stuff about wars and history.
Because it's a wormhole, I would almost call it like the first transcontinental highway, something like a Route 66 or the railroads that connect one side to the other.
Right. But then on top of that, they have that, and now they have a ship that can go off into the wormhole into a different quadrant completely. So they have, they have the battle at home. They can go into a different quadrant, and they have a ship that can go anywhere. I mean, like, that's what made Deep Space Nine, one of the things that made it so awesome, was that now it spans so much. It's not just one ship exploring or one station sitting there for merchants to show up and have little hijinks, but it was huge now.
Yeah, the mobility is necessary, especially when you're going to be doing the exploring, going to be confronting other civilizations like the Zenkathi.
Although Odo pronounces it with the actual TZ, which is probably the correct pronunciation. He calls it the Zenkathi. Well, most people are just like, dude, that's ridiculous. I'm just going to call it the Zenkathi, and that's good enough.
Yeah, I noticed the differences in pronunciations throughout watching it. Each person's way of doing it. But, if you're going to be exploring, if you're going to try to man up against the Jemadar and the founders and all these people that you're going to eventually be going heads up with, you're going to need the firepower, which the Defiant is obviously equipped with some really good firepower for such a small ship, spaceship. But you're going to need the mobility, and I think that's something that they're covering all those bases in this particular episode really well.
So we've got to go to our break in just a minute, but before we do, let's give a quick shout out to our associate producer, Miss Yvette Blackmon, way out in the East Coast. She's been so great to us for almost the duration of this series. And during the live chats of the video premieres, she's our muscle. She's out there being like, you guys better give this video a like, and making sure that everybody gives the video a like. And there's like 0 dislikes because Yvette's out there cracking skulls for us, and we love her, and she's really cool. And I know, Cirroc, you talk with her here and there as well. She's been great to us.
She's been wonderful. She's on the ball. She's, such a great person, and I love talking with her, love sharing ideas with her, and love the fact that she's on our team supporting us. She's wonderful.
And she was also there with the Sci-Fi Sisters in the after party of Virtual TrekCon. We'll talk about that a different time, but you just basically, the rule is you don't say no to Yvette. That's the rule. Just don't say no. If she says like the video, you like the video. If she says come to a Zoom chat, you come to the Zoom chat. Period.
Yeah, she's got that presence like your mom has when your mom tells you to clean up your room. You kind of got to do it. It's not really a choice. It's an order.
But then once you do it, she's got like the best smile too. Then she's so sweet, and she's like, "See how good it is when you do what I tell you to do."
It's for your own good.
All right. Anyway, so shout out to Yvette Blackmon. We love her. She's awesome. And we are going to take this super quick break and come right back on the 7th Rule. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the 7th Rule with Cirroc Lofton. We're doing our review of the Adversary. Sorry, just Adversary, episode 26 of season 3, directed by Alexander Singer. This is it. If you guys haven't jumped on the train yet, now is the time to jump on the train, because this is the final episode of the 3rd season. Everything's going to get crazy. Also, please be sure to check out our Patreon at patreon.com/the7th-rule. Please subscribe to this channel, like every video, or we're just going to have to tell Yvette. And be sure to comment in the description or in the comments below. That also helps out with the YouTube and search engine optimization algorithms. Thank you. And let's talk more about this episode because there's so much to talk about. I also want to talk a little bit about Michael Eddington, right? I wanted to get your take on him. It seems like they introduced him at the beginning of this season. Then they kind of forgot about him a little bit. Now he kind of pops in a little bit more. He's had 2 or 3 episodes now where he's kind of more of a major player. Do you have any thoughts on him?
Well, when I first saw him so prominently featured in this episode, like for example, in the picture behind you, he's like one of the forefront characters. So it made me think, okay, well, this guy's gonna die this episode because he's like
he's had it coming.
He's got it coming because he's been in the background for all this time, and now all of a sudden he's getting this kind of foreground, appearance in this episode. So I thought to myself, he's either the key to this episode, he's the changeling, he's going to be the problem, he's going to be the center of the storyline, or he's going to die. So those were the things revolving around my head when I watched him in this. As soon as I saw him pop up and he was being prominently featured, I said, okay, either this guy's going to die somehow, or he's going to be the key to the storyline. The whole thing hinges around him and solving things or being the culprit. I still suspect that he's not. I still, even after watching this episode, I still suspect has a nefarious allegiance to something else other than Starfleet.
Interesting. You're like, all right, Star Trek, you keep pushing this guy. What's your game here? He's not one of us. He's not one of the cool kids. Why are you? Is he going to die? Is he going to kill someone? What's the point here? And you're right that he does always seem to either be in direct conflict with the captain, as we saw previously, or in minor conflict, where Captain Cisco says there was a really good exchange when he's talking about the ambassador, how he's saying, what would you do if this happens? And Eddington says, well, I'll escort the ambassador, whatever. And Cisco doesn't trust him just like you don't, because he tests him. He says, well, the ambassador won't like it. And Eddington says, I won't let that bother me. And so Cisco's satiated by that or whatever it is. He's like, okay, good. Just want to make sure, because last time an ambassador or an admiral or something told him something, he took a dump on Cisco's head about it and was like, oh, sorry, And so Cisco's like, whose side are you on, dude?
Yeah. And the other thing that kind of gave that kind of suspicious nature of what he's up to, he mentioned the promotion of Cisco. He said, hey, you're the captain now. Everybody wants to be the captain,
Right.
Not everybody wants to be, it's like we're not in this to be the admiral, and we're not in this to be the commander. We're in this to be the captain so we can sit in that chair. And he mentioned sitting in that. I think he mentioned that.
Right. And Cisco said, but then he said he ended up going gold. He said, well, nobody ever gets to sit in that chair in the gold uniform because that's security or operations or engineering, but in this case, security. And Cisco says, well, you could always switch to command. And Eddington seems like he gives it a thought. He says, then who would protect the ambassador? Which is a good line. That's funny.
Which was a good line. It was a good comeback. And I think that's what was able to please Captain Cisco in that moment. He's like, all right, that's a good answer. But I'm still suspicious of him for some reason. I don't know what it is. Maybe he didn't hang out and eat enough with me at the craft service table in between shots. But there's something about this Eddington guy that I just can't put my finger on. There's something double agent about him. There's something nefarious about him.
I love it. Spoken like a true Cisco. You're watching him. I don't know
what. I got my eye on this guy.
I'm watching him.
I'm watching him closely. Something doesn't add up. But yeah, I thought it was funny though. This is a complete, just a side note. But every time we're in the conduits, right? And O'Brien's in the conduits fixing some panel, and Bashir was in the conduits this episode, doing his little thing. I just thought to myself, why would they make the conduits so damn small that you have to crawl through there?
Spacing, I guess.
With all this technology, and you have the vastness of space, you would think that you would say, oh yeah, let's make the conduit a little bit more accessible than having to crawl through it and down this long...
Right, and not just that, but okay, let's say, for example, that there's just not a lot of space on the ship, and they're like, look, we can't make something big for something that's hardly ever used, right? But then why not put a mat at the bottom, right? Why does it have to be grates? Like, why are they always scraping up their knees the whole time? It's like, dude, like, at least have some humanity. Don't torture your engineers.
Something,
some linoleum, for God's sake. Something. Let them slide across.
Yeah, or maybe having designed like something you roll on your back with, like a mechanic goes under the car.
That's a good one, yeah.
Little roller thing, some kind of technology that allows you to go through that section with more ease than just crawling through it on your hands and knees like a baby. I was watching, I'm watching that, I'm thinking, gosh, O'Brien must really hate being in those conduits when they're filming. It must be, a pain to sit in there for hours at a time while they're doing close-ups and this and that. Usually those conduits have special effects scenes where fire is happening or smoke is, something's blowing up. So you're in that small space with the heat of the fire or with the smoke, and I'm sure that's not the best place to be filming for O'Brien. But
there's only one person so far that I can remember in the history of Star Trek that doesn't mind being in those conduits. In fact, actually likes it. And that person is, give 3 seconds for the fans to guess, who's that person that likes being in the conduits? Ensign Rutherford of Lower Decks. He's the only one that's ever expressed excitement about being in there.
Yeah, and I've been in the conduits myself earlier in one of these episodes where I rescued O'Brien, actually. I think
where he said there was spiders in there or something like that.
Yeah, and I think my dad told me to stay back, just wait here, and then I saw that O'Brien was hurt, so I crawled in and rescued him. And he said, "Keep that between us," So I've had my own experience in those little tiny spaces, and as a 6 foot plus guy, it's not fun to be down in there. But just a little LOL moment for me, the crawl space of the conduits.
Mm-hmm. So we've got a lot of big moments in this episode too, like things that actually change the direction of the series. One is that for the first time ever now, a changeling has harmed another. And they made sure to put that in earlier in the episode that says no changeling has ever harmed another. They said that before, and they said it again in this episode. And what happens, they start fighting each other. Now, I don't know if what that changeling was doing to Odo is considered harming him, but remember, the other changeling did attack him, putting his hand in his pancreas or whatever. And so then Odo more than harmed him, but actually turned him into black sand, like a black sand beach or something. Mm-hmm. And now Odo's life is forever changed because of that, because he's harmed another. And the changeling's reputation of never harming another, they can no longer claim that, because that's a little mantle of pride right there for them.
Yeah, it doesn't mean much to me because they're willing to hurt other people. The changelings hurt the Jemadar, they hurt humans, they hurt other people. Just because they don't hurt each other, there's no real high ground in that if you're hurting other people. So if the changeling were a group of people that have never hurt anybody, then it would be...
Then we can talk.
Then we can talk. Then we can talk, and then we'd see, well, that means a lot. But, you don't hurt anybody outside of your own kind. That's not really a benevolent, species that's out for good. So
it almost seems like the opposite.
It seems like the opposite, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of that master race, Nazi type ideology that
Well, we don't hurt our own.
Right.
Why would we hurt our own? We can harm everything else, but we would
Right.
never hurt our own. Oh, you're so magnanimous. Great. Wonderful.
Yeah.
What a hero.
So there really isn't any honor in that, but there is something that defines who you are. So it does make him, Odo essentially the first changeling to do that. So, it means something.
Yeah, right. It means something to them. And that's the point, is that it changes his life and it changes the changelings, the founders. And so now they've taken a different trajectory. There's something very different in the way the founders will view themselves, will view him, will view the Federation. It's a pretty big moment.
Yeah, it's a big moment. I mean, for Odo, I think it's a big moment. I think really it's about Odo, struggling with his own identity. He doesn't know his people that well. He doesn't know much about himself. And then the other thing is, when the guy put his arm inside of his pancreas or whatever, they didn't really explain how that was hurting him.
Yeah, I didn't get it either.
Yeah, or how that was like that would be totally new to Odo, right? To have like this other.
Maybe he loved it. Maybe he's like, oh yes.
Right. So like there was no real explanation onto like how that affected him, how that may have changed his like perception of just his own mortality.
Yeah, it seemed like it was stunning him or something. It was neutralizing him in some way. But yeah, it's very confusing because, I mean, if they're both made of goo, then wouldn't the impact be the same from one person to the other? It's not like a knife, which is the knife will harm a human, but it won't harm the person wielding it because he's holding the blunt edge or whatever. But this is just two buckets of goo interacting, which, who knows? It seems like if we know anything about changelings, they would enjoy that.
Yeah, I don't know that that was a bad thing. And the other thing that I wondered was, how do you, when he reemerges and takes his hand out of him, how does he not accidentally take a piece of Odo out of him too? Like, hey, wait.
Odo's like, wait, give me that part. No, this one's mine. This is me. Okay, but. Yeah. No, see, I remember clearly this part's me over here, and they're just kind of like fussing.
Where's my belly button? You took my belly button.
Well, now I have two.
Something like that would have been, I mean, it was just going through my head, like, what is it really what's really going on in that moment when they're exchanging this moment. But we got a sighting of your Bolians, and now we know that Bolians bleed blue.
Yes. Yes, that's a good one.
Which give us a whole new meaning to blue blood.
All right, give me another. All right, here we go. There's another one that I'm not going to touch there. Another blue joke.
Please don't touch those.
But don't touch those. But yeah, I was really excited that there was a bully in there, and I remember thinking about you because I'm like, I bet you Cirroc's going to catch that and be like, hey, we get it. And he got lines. It wasn't just like some dude in the background to like look cool. The final episode of this season might have a higher budget, so they're like, all right, we can pay an actor to have a few lines, and he had a good role. It wasn't just a couple lines here or there. He was partnered with Kira, which was a good partnering there, and it was just good to see, because Bolians are supposedly a very competitive race. If I remember correctly with what I read way back in the day, they compete with each other, and they have this sport or something, if I remember right, where they like hold each other underwater and do really weird things to each other to establish like dominance. And, they're super competitive, but don't quote me on that because that's a long time ago I read that, but that's kind of their situation. So it was nice to see one, it wasn't exactly competitive, but he certainly wasn't shy about talking to a superior officer.
Yeah, he stood up to Kira really forcefully, actually, and he said, "Go ahead, after you, Major." You know.
Yeah.
She's like, "Why? You don't trust me?" He's like, "No,
I don't. And she's like, "I don't blame you."
and I actually liked that moment between the two of them. It was actually a really good moment. But then at the same time, I didn't suspect the Bolian of being the Changeling or of being some kind of nefarious character the way I do Eddington, which is crazy. Eddington, just something about him just says like he's up to something, you know, there's some secret plan.
I love it.
Like he's a Section 31 guy or something.
Everybody at home, real quick, by the way, Cirroc has not seen this series before. That's why it's so fun to hear his guesses and his thoughts on Eddington. So join us in this journey as we go through the life and trials of Michael Eddington on Deep Space Nine.
Yeah. And then, you know, there was that one scene where Dr. Bashir is doing the testing on everybody to see who has the
right. That was cool.
The radiation on there. And it was so obvious when he switched the vials. I don't know if you paid attention to that moment, but when he was doing the vials and he was testing everybody, he had the extra 2 vials in his hand, and you could see him clearly switching the vials and saying, look, I found it.
He's like, what's this over here? Switch.
Yeah. And I was like, this is like the worst magic trick ever. Nobody paid attention to the fact that it was such an obvious switch over.
He's like, and what was the card you were thinking? Ace of Spades. Queen of Hearts, great.
Exactly. So it was it wasn't the best sell for me, but I did like the passcodes to the self-destruct sequence. Cisco Alpha 1 Alpha, and then Kira.
That's a pretty good passcode there.
Yeah, and Kira Beta 2 Beta. I just thought that was pretty good. I don't know why I was so taken aback by it, but I just like I like hearing people's passcodes in movies, you know. I see you got your stray cat coming by to say hello.
How can you tell?
Because that's the only thing that can take you away from your duties in life.
That's the only thing that makes me go, yeah, she's out there. She knows. I'll feed her in a few when we're done here. She can wait. Michael Eddington is more pressing. And Bolians and captaincy and founders, she knows. She only likes to come when she knows there's some real stuff being discussed here. She's doing it on purpose. It's a dominance thing. Don't fall for it. Cats are like that. But speaking of important things, and we're already running low on time here, but the founder, the Changeling, whispers into Odo's ear, and we find out at the very end what it is. He says, "You're too late. We're everywhere." And this is how we end the 3rd season, meaning season 4 is about to get crazy. The Changelings have infiltrated the Federation, or at least Starfleet, or the Defiant, or Deep Space Nine. We don't really know, but we see what one can do. And that's a scary thought.
Yeah, it is a scary thought, but it also is a good thought because I know that it's about to kick into high gear and we're about to get a lot of action. So I'm excited about that, the action that we're headed towards. But the Dominion have been looming now for a while. They've done a really extensive setup and build up for these guys, right? We've met them before. We've had conversations. We saw the swimming pool of changelings and things that they all swim in.
Swimming pool, the kiddie pool. It wasn't very deep either.
It wasn't very deep, but we've seen all. Yeah, so we've seen all of these things, and they've been set up, and the Vorta, and we've heard about all of these different elements, but I'm excited to get into the nitty gritty and get into the meat of this, what's about to happen, which is obviously they're looking to start the major kind of intergalactic battle between everybody. The idea of this episode was to, have the Defiant basically start a war by attacking the Zenkati. Right?
Yeah.
I got to read that every time.
I know.
But we know that war is inevitable either way. So whether it's going to be the Defiant that starts it or not, by this Changeling revealing that they're everywhere and it's too late, we know that it's only a matter of time before stuff really starts to hit the fan, and I'm excited to see how that's going to go.
Yeah, I was just trying to think of a way to get you to say Zenketi again.
Zenkati, yeah.
We never actually see them. We hear them in a bunch of episodes. They talk about them a lot. They always kind of pop up in things, but we've never actually seen them. We've seen them in Star Trek Online, which is not necessarily official canon Star Trek, but it's close enough to the point, as we know, Al Rivera has told us that they talk with CBS and they kind of compare thoughts and notes. So Star Trek does have the right to do whatever they want to make them look however they want and not have to base it on what Star Trek Online did. But it could very well look just like that, because they could have just said, well, this is how we always picture them, or something like that. It's a really interesting relationship there. So I did look them up, and they're weird. I can't really make out what's going on in their face. It's just a big mess, and they've got 4 arms, and which is probably why we've never seen them, because that's an expensive thing to make.
Yeah.
So.
Well, I don't know if we'll ever see them, but I don't really think they matter at this point, because they're just a pawn in this overall chess game that's being played, where the Federation is the prize, right? To get the Federation on the hook and involved in this thing is really the main goal. But I do want to make a couple of quick side notes before we close out, because I know we're short on time. Number one is the guy that was who was assigned to go with Cisco when everybody was paired up, because Cisco wanted everybody to have a teammate with them so that there was no confusion about who was a Changeling or not.
Right.
The guy who was paired up with Cisco was our stunt coordinator, Dennis Matalon.
Really?
And we've seen him several times playing different aliens. He actually might have played more.
I didn't realize that was the same guy, the dude with the bandana on his leg, huh?
Right.
I didn't even realize that was him.
Yeah, and he was the one who gets killed by the Changeling when he's with Cisco in that little coming down the ladder. So just a shout out to Dennis Matalon, who probably has played now more characters than, I don't know, maybe anybody, if you think about
we'll
it.
see.
He's got to be up there with Jeffrey Combs and those guys. Because not speaking roles, but
just different roles, different characters, different
roles,
things, interesting.
Yeah.
So we only have a couple minutes left, but I wanted to introduce something very quickly at the very end.
Yeah.
That I'm going to call Ryan's nitpick of the day, and I got to put on my Captain Picard tie for the nitpick. Here we go.
All right.
Who's watching the station when Odo and Kira and Bashir and Cisco and O'Brien and Dax and everybody is on the Defiant? Who's watching the station? They need to leave Odo and Kira behind. And while I'm at it, why are Odo and Eddington paired together when they're the 2 security guys? You got to have one with the other. That was Ryan's nitpick of the day.
Very good.
Thanks. So now, thank you.
Now back to our regularly scheduled program.
And now before we close it out with your prediction of the IMDb score, we did forget the trivioids that didn't make the cutting room floor. There's a coup d'etat on the Zenkethi homeworld. We already got that one. Jake loves champagne. Cassidy Yates is hauling a load of Duridium. We got that. Cisco and Cassidy are going to the Holosuite to watch the 7th game of the 1964 World Series. That was a really cool one. Chief O'Brien is hearing things in the Defiant. The Defiant hears a distress call from Barissa Prime, and the USS Ulysses is studying protoplanetary masses in the Hellespont Nebula. So this is it. Jake Cisco guesses the IMDb rating.
Well, first off, shout out to the Hellespont Nebula.
Yeah.
Where E40 likes to visit on his vacations because there's Hellespont over there.
Nice. I was going to make a hella joke, but yours is better than what I would have done.
And my guess on this one is I would say this was about an 8.
Mm-hmm.
Like just an 8.0. I'd actually say 7.8 to 8 and go on the lower side of that number than the higher. But that's my guess. Survey says
8.3.
Oh.
Very close.
Wow.
Very good. 8.3. I think it got some pretty good marks for being like, for altering the trajectory of the show and for being the season finale.
And the captain.
Mm-hmm. A lot of big moments.
Yeah, big moments in this one.
But we'll talk about it. We'll talk about it in the free-for-all with some very special associate producers. And we'll be right back on the 7th Rule. Hey, everybody, and welcome back to the 7th Rule. This is the free-for-all with Commander John Tufarella. We also have Commander Homer Frizzell. We have Deputy Commandant Rex A. Wood. We have Melissa Longo, Dr. Mohamed Noor, Changeling TJ, and Dr. Sue Gruner. Cirroc Lofton, as always, as usual. And Dr. God, we all got a lot of doctors. Dr. Marie Segal. How's everybody doing?
Great.
All right.
Great.
Doctor.
Doctor.
Deputy Commandant?
Captain, Commander, Captain.
Right. Cisco becomes a captain in this episode. Anybody have any thoughts on that? That was a big moment, right? About time
The
or
Rock
what?
made that party.
About time.
Yeah.
I like the intro scene where it wasn't obvious what was happening. Like, wait, what? And then, oh, he's getting promoted. That was cool.
Mm-hmm.
Yay! And Jake gets
Because they kind of
Yeah, right.
they kind of teased us like this is my last log as a commander.
Yeah.
It's pretty nice.
Sipping on gin and juice.
Oh, that's
Laid back.
this is
Yeah,
a good question
There's no
here.
money in the future. Oh, wait, Platinum.
Money, yeah, with my Latinum on my mind and my mind on my Latinum. Okay, so here's a good question. Oh, well, before we get to the question, guys, do any of you have any thoughts on this episode?
Changelings know every little detail of what happens on
Only
the
that it's been a
holodeck
long
or the
time since I've
holosuite.
seen it.
Yeah, I don't get it.
Changeling TJ, do you know every detail of what happens on Quark's
Yeah.
holosuites, even if you're not there? Like, that was insane.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes,
that
I
was
do.
unexplained. Oh, yes.
Yeah. Chief O'Brien had to eat some lamb stew before he went kayaking.
Oh, you did know. Oh, okay.
Nice.
He's
Yeah.
a changeling.
Only the real Odo knew about the fork.
But then he was like, anybody could know that. And I was like, whoa, this changeling
The
is
lamb
like
stew?
hardcore studying.
Yeah, that's a lot of cramming.
That was so
Yeah.
weird.
Yes.
Yeah.
O'Brien's stories are boring.
So do you get the memories when you change into something?
That's the thing. That happens later with Bashir too, where Bashir is a changeling Bashir the whole time.
Anne-Marie, I'm sorry.
Oh, whoops. Sorry, never mind. We'll talk about it later.
Spoiler alert.
Spoiler alert. 25 years. Spoiler alert.
25 years.
Whatever.
That's funny.
But you do get the memories or you don't? I don't know. I'm not clear about that.
That's what I hate about it.
Because I thought that was
That
weird too.
I think they just have a very well developed intelligence network.
I think
must
so
be able
too,
to-
because
Could
they
be.
are everywhere. They
Yeah.
can be anywhere. They could be a rock, a chair. So they could be. The Changeling could have been in the holosuite with O'Brien and Odo, and knew. It could have been a
He
fake
could have been the
rock.
kayak.
Could have been the kayak.
When you're on a space station with a changeling, do you worry that he's in the room for everything? That he could just be there?
Should.
Yeah.
Quark does because that's what Odo
Like
does to
clicking
him.
stuff.
He could be anywhere. He could be the toilet.
Yeah,
It could be.
Oh,
Can you split and be in two places? Can you have like half of Odo one place and half of Odo somewhere else?
Always
I wondered
wondered
that
what they
too.
Ryan, you're killing me.
Although,
would
although
you pick a toilet to be though? Seriously? I'm going to be the toilet.
He could-
That's what's happening in the bathroom.
That's a shitty choice.
yeah, there we go. There we go. Here we go.
Not the
Literally.
changeling.
Pass on the toilet. I'd be like, I'll be the sink or something like that, but I'm not being the toilet.
And we know they can change size and density, right? Because he's been a rat before. He could be a pencil.
Amazing actor, Rat.
He could be a, that's right. He could be a mountain.
He can be a.
I mean,
buffet cart.
you could be like a fly or something
That's
really
what
small.
I said.
And then
On the
why?
head.
And nobody would be able to see it. Yeah.
You know
I'm
what?
catching what you're pitching, Dr. Gruner.
there could be a really heavy fly. Like they
what's
don't
really
really change density, but change mass.
But if
Yeah.
it's just a little piece of him, maybe that can go.
Yeah, but
it's really
but
neat that
then
they
the
can-
blood
No,
theory wouldn't
because
work.
right.
Oh,
they
that's true.
said
That's
that-
right. Because they're all
says-
liquid. You're right. That's a good point. Yeah, good point.
really neat that they can be scanned and they're that object too.
But then
Okay,
here's the other
It
question.
actually
That is
says that
cool.
they're rock, you know?
Mhm.
That's a little weird too. That the science there is a little tough
Yeah.
to stomach. But
Yeah.
here's the other question:
I believe
if
it.
they're losing a piece of themselves, like some blood that changes into whatever, aren't they going to get that much smaller,
Yeah, their
and
mass
then
is
that
less.
much smaller, and then
Yeah.
that much smaller?
Okay, who in the audience hasn't thought about this for hours?
Well, I guess it depends on how changelings regenerate, if that makes sense. If they can grow skin back like we can,
Yeah. Or like we donate blood and then we
they
get more.
grow goo back.
Interesting. So like a lizard that grows its tail back, if they lose a part of themselves when they're napping in a bucket, they go back to their regular size.
Well,
Well, I
didn't
guess they
Odo
don't-
start as a little blob, and then
Yeah,
didn't they at one
But-
point talk about him getting
Yeah, I was
larger?
That
I
Dr.
don't think
Moore
we've
episode
come to
coming
that
up.
episode yet, but yeah.
He doesn't have to eat. So I wonder, like, where does he get the extra mass? Like, where does
Yeah,
it come from?
yeah, exactly.
He just takes it out of the
My
air.
headcanon is it
Anyone
has to
see
do something with the
bigger
light
than
hitting him.
Maybe he drinks
And-
water.
Maybe.
And is that little piece of blood, when they took it out, is that able to change into something? That little thing?
No,
Toothpick?
it
that-
reverts to a gelatinous state.
Oh, okay.
That's why they could tell if you're a changeling or not.
He's
It would
probably
be
like,
cool,
I'm going to
though.
want that back.
Yeah, it would be cool if it could change
Yeah,
into something.
right?
Because then it could turn into like a little tiny thing in the vial and be like, let me out. Why are you doing this to me?
It's a little Odo.
I want to go back to my body.
Put me back. Put me back.
Okay, so here's a big question here, guys. Here's a fun one. Now, starting now, Cisco is no longer a commander, which opens up the question, now that Cisco is not a commander, who is your all-time favorite Star Trek character that holds the rank of commander besides Cisco? Holds or held? I know there's a lot of meaty choices there. Rex already knows, so we're going to start with Rex.
Always go with me. It'll always be Commander Spock. It'll always be Commander Spock.
Easy answer.
Easy answer.
By the way, you're wearing an awesome new shirt from Abyssinian Kiosk, which is Cirroc's sister's shop. Check this out. Look at that beautiful color. 9 stripes.
Mhm.
Excellent design.
Yeah, that's the new design.
Really good. Really
Beautiful.
Good
And we'll include that in the description box below. It's abyssiniankiosk.com, and you can see all kinds of cool stuff there. Easy answer, Spock was, Rex?
Yep. Easy answer.
What about you, Homer? Do you have an easy answer, or is it a toughie?
Well, I feel as though I can't take Spock, even though that is a good answer. So I am going to go with Commander Jack Ransom.
Wow.
That's a good one.
Love it.
Yeah, I'm going to keep my shirt on too.
Anne Marie, did you
At
go,
least for
ooh?
now.
I can tell no one is disappointed.
She said,
At least for now.
Yeah, she got excited about the thought of him keeping his shirt on.
Yeah.
Stig, Lieutenant J.
Oh, I love that one. Is that from
Very
Mission
nice.
From Mission Log Store?
Yeah, it's related to exactly.
Amazing.
Mission log. That's Lieutenant J. Tracy Coco.
Yeah. She was great in the virtual TrekCon. That was an awesome makeup demo.
Oh my gosh. Brilliant.
All right. Well, speaking of shirts, boy, everybody's got some shirts to show off. Melissa
Everyone's
Longo.
wearing a shirt.
Check out Melissa's shirt. This is a brand new one inspired by a virtual TrekCon 2, the Cat Pack. And that is at walkingartmadebymelissa.com. Your shop, is it available now or soon?
It's available now.
It's available now.
Nice. It's available right meow. All right.
Oh.
So.
Oh, nice. Nice.
Yeah.
Gotta write that down.
Cirroc did the start out like he was going to say, he's like, oh, nice. So, Melissa, what do you think? Favorite commander?
I'm gonna go with the first one that popped into my head, and that was Commander Worf. I really like it when he says "death to the opposition."
Yes.
He said that.
He does become a commander at the very end, right, guys?
Yep.
Is that right?
Yep.
Okay.
I thought during season 4, no?
I think so.
Because he was
He got
lieutenant
promoted to
commander.
DS9.
I think it's
Yeah.
pretty soon after he.
Is it?
Well,
Okay.
and you also have lieutenant commanders who are referred to as commanders.
But that doesn't,
like Data.
nope. Only that.
Okay, so you're looking, you want 3 pips.
Oh my god,
They
you know how hard
hold the
this is
rank.
with
They
it.
actually have to
3,
hold the
4
rank.
pips.
When he got promoted to first officer under Riker.
My answer is still good.
Right. So, I mean, that includes Beverly Crusher. She's got 3 pips. That includes Deanna Troy. She has 3 pips. There are a lot of secret triple
Thanks
pippers.
for those suggestions.
As if
That's
TJ
be-
needs
I
any
don't
help.
I just-
After you dominated the Technobabble game.
So
with Slam
I think
Quadrant.
TJ Changeling needs help.
Why?
Well,
Oh,
no,
'cause he's a
I have
changeling.
all the records of Starfleet in my queue.
Your answer should be amazing, unless you're trying to convince us that you're TJ,
Well-
in which case your answer should be amazing.
Well, first I want to know if Melissa had any more to add to her answer as she took a big swig of her beverage.
And it's bubbly. So was Worf a commander? Because
Yeah.
I don't know. Oh, okay, so that's my answer.
Easy answer, it sounds like.
Likely
Okay.
to season 4 reviews.
Okay. Well, Homer tells us it's Changeling TJ's turn next.
Well, Commander Charles Tucker III.
Ah, you took mine.
We knew that was going to be yours, Mo. We knew that was you, Mohammed.
Oh, my answer.
Because I think we could bond over a good fried catfish.
Yeah.
Nice.
His
Love
favorite
catfish.
meal.
Okay. Well, Sue V. Gruner, now that Changeling TJ stole people's identity as a changeling and stole your answer.
This is
Do
giving
you-
Chef more work to do.
I don't want to talk about Trip because I'll get upset. I know what's going to happen. You guys made me watch it, and I'm watching it, and I'm thinking, no, I can't handle
Oh,
it.
no.
I can't
Oh wait,
handle
Sue,
it.
aren't you only in season 2?
No, I emailed them today where I am. Season 3.
7, episode
they're still-
7.
Yeah, they're
That's
still
some good binging.
dealing with.
Okay, you're in the good stuff.
Because last week was
Hoshi just was on that planet with that guy. Wanted her to stay. That's the last
Oh,
one.
that's
Beauty and the
Oh,
Beast
yeah.
episode.
I agree with Ryan.
So creepy.
Terrible episode.
He made her pizza.
Great nightmares tonight.
Yeah.
And also like a creepy negligee. Oh, that episode. And a
And the
graveyard of old
graves
friends.
of the previous companions. Yeah, it was kind of
Oh my
weird.
God,
But
so
still,
good.
I really like it. And I love Trip.
Mm.
He cannot die. Nope. Nope.
Is he your favorite character on Enterprise?
Yeah, between him, I like T'Pol too. I have this thing now where I want a uniform. I don't want to hurt uniforms. Apparently, you cannot get them. I want one.
Anybody know where she could get a T'Pol uniform? I've seen people wearing it, like cosplay people.
Yeah, there's cheap ones out there. But yeah, if anybody knows, that would be great. I found somebody that custom makes the Deep Space Nine suits, so I got that in the works, but I really want one of those. I hate to call it a cat suit, but that's kind of what it is. Yeah, but
cat pack.
A cat pack suit.
Cat pack.
Amazing. Yeah, I like the purple one. She even had purple boots.
Who's the actor that played Trip Tucker?
Connor Trenier.
Connor. Oh, that's Connor?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We'd love to have Connor on our show to say hello.
Yeah, he's great. I think I saw him in a movie with Tom Cruise. Wasn't he in a movie with Tom Cruise? American Made? Was it American Made?
I'm too busy watching all this.
I just watched him in Stargate.
It takes up a lot of time.
Yeah. No, he's in a movie.
Was that the one where he was president?
Where he played George Bush, right? Or
yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Weird.
That's totally him.
All right, Dr. Anne-Marie Segal, who's your favorite commander?
Obviously, it's Riker. I love him.
Obviously.
Knew that was coming.
Because when he becomes captain in certain instances, because he's commander, it's always a really fun episode.
I don't think Ryan's accepting that answer.
That is a very acceptable answer.
All right.
No, I didn't think anything, which is also easy to believe. There was nothing going on in here. I was just
okay.
Sounds
about right.
No,
I don't doubt you.
Well, I was also reading Homer's message about bespoke T'Pol uniforms, and I just love that Star Trek uniforms are described as bespoke, as if they're coming from Savile Row. Amazing.
Bespoke.
Yeah, I use that word.
Yeah, for British aristocracy and Trekkies.
And for Sue.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, who is also a Trekkie.
Which leads us to John Tufarella. Favorite commander?
I'm sticking with Trip.
Or Chakotay. No love here.
You never know. There are a couple people left.
That's probably Cirroc's choice.
Why Trip, John?
His whole attitude, his personality is just fantastic. I know I can sit down and drink a beer or 12 with him and just have a blast.
Yeah, that's true.
Plus, Connor's a pretty badass guy in real life, so
you get along with Connor or Trip, either way.
Yes.
That's fair.
Oh, by the way,
I am going to get him on the karaoke stage once STLV happens again. He missed last time.
Cool badge, by the way. There it is. All right. Dr. Mohamed Noor.
That,
oh, please.
John is not the changeling.
I know not which of you speak.
Dr. Mohamed Noor, who's your favorite commander?
So my default was going to be Trip Tucker, just because I always feel like Enterprise doesn't get enough love. But since that got picked a couple of times, I'll go with Cirroc.
I knew you were going to say that.
Nice.
Doug Jones is awesome, and Saru's a really cool character, and I really liked him in the start of Discovery Season 3. I won't say any more, so I don't, in case people haven't watched it yet.
I did not make the connection between The Shape of Water
Yeah.
and him.
Oh, really?
I didn't. Now I know, but it's pretty cool.
You get the Silver Surfer there too from that horrific Fantastic Four movie.
Hey Ryan, we're waiting.
I never saw it.
You never saw The Shape of Water?
No, I never saw the Silver Surfer movie.
Oh, you need me either. Silver Surfer
is
the second Fantastic Four movie that they did before they changed the cast completely, and the one with Jessica Alba was Sue Storm, and before Johnny Storm became Captain America.
And it was after Chiklis, Michael Chiklis, who was in
now I'm
S.H.I.E.L.D.
interested. Now I'm interested.
Oh, boy.
He was the ever-loving thing.
Tell us, Homer. Please tell us
It's
more.
clobbering time.
Homer.
Yeah.
No, I just had to mention it. It'd been way too long.
Yeah.
Well, Cirroc, now is your opportunity to either name your favorite commander or to pick a winner.
Wait, did you say one, Brian?
Nah. Okay. Well, okay. Mine is Kelly Rowland.
Kelly Rowland?
Nobody? She'll be your commander. Nobody? TJ, please.
The singer?
Save me.
Destiny Child.
No,
Oh, yeah, that's right.
And
Change
The one
it.
that Cirroc didn't ask out.
No, that's hey, Emery, that was a secret.
Oh my god, I love that. I love that story.
Nobody.
Brian will beep that out.
Man.
I got it.
Thank you. Thank you.
I got
Okay,
nothing.
so no, how about okay. Commander Cal Hutchinson.
Nice.
Okay.
Call me Hutch. Call me Hutch. That's from a Next Generation episode. Call me Hutch.
Isn't it Cal Hudson?
No, Cal Hudson it was a guy in Deep Space Nine.
Yeah.
And he was also a commander, actually. Or
Wait,
was
yes,
he?
I know. But didn't you
He
just
was
say
a
Cal
commander.
Hutchinson?
No,
I didn't know. What
Cal
did you say,
Hutchinson.
Oh, they're both first name Cal?
I thought.
Who's Cal Hutchinson?
Call me Hutch.
Yeah, that's right.
He was a guy in Starship Mine, maybe 7th season, 5th, 6th, or 7th season of Next Generation. One of the best characters ever.
Ryan's
Just
doppelganger.
real quick, Data's trying to learn how to do like small talk at this reception, and nobody wants to go to this reception because at this star base, because the guy there is Cal Hutchinson, and he's like the king of small talk in a bad way. And so they're like, look, Data, if you want to learn how to do small talk, just watch this guy. And so he's watching Cal Hutchinson talking to someone, and he's emulating him. He's going like, hey, he's like practicing these moves, and then they get to, it's a beautiful, hilarious moment. But the best part is when, before they have the reception, when Picard says, oh, we'll be meeting at Calvin Hutchinson, whatever, and then they're like, all kind of go like, oh shit, this guy, I can't stand this guy.
He's
So
like world-renowned.
Worf says, Captain, permission to whatever, and he says, I have to go do something else, and Picard goes, permission granted. I wish I could excuse myself, or what is he? He says something like that. I wish I could excuse myself as well. And then Geordi sees that Worf got excused, so he's like, Captain, permission to. He's like, I cannot excuse my entire senior staff, Geordi. Anyway, it's just, you got to watch it. Starship Mine, hilarious episode. Anyway, or
that actually made me.
Riker.
That made me think of the Cal that was in this new Discovery episode. There was a Cal character as well.
Oh my god, I'm
Oh, you're right.
Oh, yeah.
K-A-L, Cal, you're right.
So like they've really recycled that Cal name a few times. Somebody likes it. I'm not going to pick a winner because it's too difficult for me to do that. I can just say that I really like Commander Riker as well, Mr. Jonathan Frakes.
Frakes. I won.
Oh, is that your pick? Was that your pick, Edward?
Were we allowed to pick Commander Cisco?
He was exempt.
No,
No.
Ryan exempted him and wouldn't let us.
I forgot.
I do have a couple of bonus answers, though.
Yes.
All right, let's hear them.
All right, the first bonus is Commander Leonard McCoy, just for the sake of Anne-Marie. I'm getting the stink face.
Yeah.
And second is Commander Kira Nerys.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Oh yeah.
Does she
yeah.
become a commander at some point?
Yeah, the end.
Yes,
The way it ends.
in season 7, no
I remember
spoilers.
seeing her in the
It's
that
when
new.
she's like, I think it's when they put her in the Starfleet uniform.
Yeah, she's
But
definitely
she
in that
become-
uniform on Cardassia.
She becomes colonel, though, doesn't she?
Wait. Yeah.
She
When
does
she's
become
in
colonel
the
also,
militia.
but
Okay.
she
As well.
they commissioned her as a commander for a specific purpose.
Oh, then she would be my
Had
pick.
to go rescue Tufarella.
Oh,
Yeah, I liked her as commander a
Dude,
lot.
did you change it? You changed your pick?
Well, if she was a commander, then I'm always Team Kira.
Oh, okay. That was Melissa.
Yeah.
Oh, Commander Shelby.
That's a good one,
I thought about Commander Shelby
Put
also.
Riker right in his place.
right? A few times.
You're in my way.
A little inappropriately so.
Here. You're mad at Shelby,
She was just an old man's fantasy.
right?
One
That's
of the
what he
creepiest
says.
lines in Star Trek.
Yeah, just an old man's fantasies.
Yeah. Oh, and I also have to say that I love my bracelet that I got from Melissa's shop, Walking Art made by Melissa, that I can't stop wearing everywhere. And I get so many compliments when I go for a coffee in it.
Nice.
And it says Deep Space Nine in binary code, and I love it.
Well, on that note, we do have to close this out. We'll have that website in the description box below, Walking Art made by Melissa, as well as Abyssinian Kiosk. Also, Mission Log was mentioned, right, with the Tracy Coco Lieutenant J shirt. There it is.
And we love them.
Nice.
Terry was just on the show.
I love that. I love
Very
that.
cool. So,
well, I have a couple of honorary commanders to name out.
nice.
Commander John Tufarella, Commander Homer Frizzell,
Mhm.
Commander Rex A. Wood. Those are some of my favorite commanders, too.
Very good.
Mhm.
Yeah, we had a lot of options. We also have Commander Burnham is an
that's
option.
right.
Mhm. And
Burnham?
now Commander
Apparently
Giorgio.
Yeah. Apparently
Not
she's still
Chris.
called a commander.
Not Giorgio.
Oh, too scary.
Not Giorgio. Yeah, I
No,
don't
she's
know.
a renegade. She's too renegade to be part of the team. She's not a team player.
Cool outfit though.
Cool outfit.
Yeah, that's true.
All right, guys. Well, we better run. But thank you all so much for joining us. We do want to give special thanks out to Carmen Shamwell, PJ Thomas, TJ Jackson-Bey out in Missouri, Bill Victor Arucan, Yvette Blackmon, Dennis Koch, Homer Frizzell, Eve England out in Wales, Dr. Anne-Marie Segal, Titus Mohler, Tim Baum, Dr. Mohamed Noor, paging Dr. Susan Fee Gruner, and Rex A. Wood. Thank you all very much. Melissa Longo, thank you so much for joining us and for bringing the greenhouse with you.
Mhm. Love it.
Nice.
It was a beautiful green tree, and I was like, yes, I love you. So
Great. And we'll see you next time. Thank you all very much. Always remember the 7th rule.